So coming on to the bacteriological evidence, as I said, attempt should always be made, collect at least 2 samples. Where sputum is not available or it fails, alternative specimen should be used, and for CB naught, because it's an expensive test, a single or a pooled specimen. That is, you can ask the child, ask the mother to pull up whatever is coming and then subject that to CB NAT. But always attempt should be made wherever it is available, although the cost limits is used, but it should always be used for drug resistant suspects. So if this specimen is positive, as I said, it is labeled as bacteriologically confirmed, and the national strategy is that testing for drug resistance by culture and molecular methods to be done for all retreatment cases. That is what we are following under the program. Now coming to extrapulmonary tuberculosis, as I said, the lymph node is the commonest, followed by pleural effusion, and we have an algorithm which we follow under the program for lymph node tuberculosis. That is, you're all aware that if the lymph node is enlarged, matted, with a discharging sinus, then you don't need to wait, you just do needle aspiration. But if the lymph node enlargement is just more than 2 centimeters, single lymph node at one or more sites, then you prescribe a course of antibiotics, as I said, safest is MOX. Then ask the child to wait for 7 days and then come for a FNA, and you're all aware what we see, Z-Nielsen positive or necrotizing granulomatoous lesions. But isolated Monto positivity with just a single lymph node where you are unable to get hold of what the findings I said should not be a criteria of starting ATT. So coming to chest radiology, I won't be talking much because Professor Vrinda would be having a talk on that, but still just to say that it's an important tool under the program, and we clinicians, we must learn how to sharpen our skills. But obviously there is a problem of over and under diagnosis with the chest x-ray, and there is always the problem of the penetration and other things, inspiratory, expiratory mimickers and co-founders. But so several factors, they can lead to errors in the TB diagnosis on a chest x-ray, leading to both over as well as under diagnosis. So these are the left hand side are the ones which we call as the highly suggestive, that is hilar lymph node, mediastinal lymph node, or chronic fibrocavitary disease, and miliary tuberculosis. These are the highly suggestive patterns of tuberculosis, and in these cases the specificity increases if there are persistent symptoms, as I highlighted earlier, in presence of a positive TST. Now the right hand side, that is collapse or the thin walled cavities, these are the non-specific radiology where you need to subject the child to antibiotics, as I said, and then obviously to higher investigations like a bronchoscopy or a CT chest. Now coming to a word about the Monto test, we have not defined the strength, that is we will be using 2 TU under the program and a cutoff limit of 10 for all cases and 5 for HIV and severely malnourished. Till more evidence emerges, a strength not more than 5 TU should be used in any case. So a positive TST indicates infection but not disease, and a negative test, however, does not always rule out TB infection. You need to remember this. Now, EGRAs, you are all aware, the benefits are there because there is a single patient visit, the results are available within a day, there is no booster response as is seen with the repeated Monto, and no interference by the BCG. But then the limitations are because it is a very, very sensitive test. So there is a decreased accuracy and errors occur in collection, transportation, running of the samples. So that is a problem, and for us we have limited data for our children. So that is the reason the current practice is that we are not recommending it under the program. Quantiferin Gold, TB Spot, they have no role in the diagnosis. Coming to serodiagnosis, low specificity, there are a number of studies, low specificity and sensitivity. So a better antigen and or an antibody. So there is no role of either serology or a BCG test and non-validated commercial PCRs. I'm not talking about the CBNAT. CBNAT is also a real-time PCR, but that is what we are recommending, but not the non-validated commercial PCRs. So whenever there are diagnostic uncertainties, that is, the presenting symptoms are vague, or the sputum expectoration is difficult, chest X-ray is just suggestive of tuberculosis, MON2 is positive, false positive or false negative, and history of contact is not clear cut. Such a child needs to be referred to a pediatrician or a TB specialist. But obviously, always there are some diagnostic dilemmas, they always remain. That is, lab confirmation is not possible or unreliable. So most important thing is that always send to a accredited lab with facilities of specialized investigations. Sputum not available, then alternative specimens and rapid test to be done for that. As I said, LPA for positive smears and MGIT for negative smears. And abscess not accessible, we are all aware that take help of specialized investigation like CT, MRI. And if you have a contaminated sample, then obviously you are unlucky for that. So always it's a better idea if the sample is precious, like you're taking from a inaccessible site, always inoculate 2 separate culture bottles. So this is...
You have 5 minutes more.
Okay. So whenever you suspect and there is persistence of symptoms, always take the help of relevant investigations, that is clinical follow-up with no trial of ATT despite the diagnosis. So I'll just take up a few cases. That is, whenever there is we have this child, fever, cough for 4 weeks with weight loss documented. Is he a TB suspect? The answer is yes. So we follow our algorithm, and now smear turns out to be negative. So what next? Do a chest X-ray. This is the chest X-ray with a fibrocavitary lesion. So subject to CBNAT. Now CBNAT is negative, so it is what you label as a clinically diagnosed case of pulmonary tuberculosis. So this is the algorithm which we have followed. Now coming to the next, this is a female who presented with fever, off and on, documented fever, cough, dry, with decreased appetite. Workup outside was really almost, the TLC was not raised, the TST was 8, and the chest X-ray showed collapse with pleural effusion. Sputum was not available. She was given oral and IV antibiotics, but there was no response. So CBNAT again was done, which turned out to be positive for MTB. So this is a bacteriologically confirmed case, and this is the algorithm which we have followed. So to summarize, new diagnostic algorithms incorporating the usage of newer technologies like CBNAT, which is more sensitive than Zeal-Nielsen stain and LED fluorescent microscopy. CBNAT, although it's more costly, it's easily available. And the initial step is a self-expectorated sputum. But for all suspects who have negative results, then the CBNAT should be done on all available alternative specimens. I think I can stop here. But I just say a few about the treatment part. I just rushed through that because that won't take much. 2 minutes. Okay, the case definitions we are all aware. New patient was not had a history of ATT less than 4 weeks. Failure to respond is one which you need to remember is any child who does not respond even after 12 weeks of compliant intensive phase, provided alternative diagnoses have been ruled out. Now relapse is what we call as now recurrence. That is a child who has recovered, who has been cured or treatment completed, becomes clinically or bacteriologically there is evidence of recurrence. Loss to follow-up, you are all aware. Now coming to the treatment part, initially it was intermittent dots, and we were giving dosages which were far less than what was required, that is 10-10. Now then in 2012, we increased the dosages depending upon, as I said, the WHO evidence had emerged. So the treatment categories, this is what initially used to be called CAT1. CAT3 has been abolished, CAT1, and for all our relapse, failure and treatment defaulters, we were giving 8 months therapy. TBM, initially we were giving streptomycin, but under the program now we have changed to ethambutol. And the continuation phase is being given for 10 months, so a total duration of 1 year of therapy. So intermittent therapy, although it's the mainstay, but still we are eyeing towards the daily DOTS. Under the program now, under the latest guidelines, as I said, now we do not label as smear positive or negative. It is either bacteriologically confirmed or clinically diagnosed. In all these cases, what we are trying to achieve is now a daily DOTS. Because in our setup, although HIV is not a problem, but mind you, INH monoresistance is a problem for us. HIV is a problem for South Africa, but INH baseline monoresistance is a problem for us. So according to the WHO guidelines, we need a daily treatment, daily DOTS therapy. So this is what it is now. That is that we even because daily DOTS is the most preferred for our children, and we have revised the dosages now. If we are giving intermittent, as I said, it is 15-15. But finally, we are coming out with its daily DOTS where rifampicin is 15 and INH is 10 milligram. Rest remain the same. Now, this is the study. The current recommendations are: this is a feasibility study. The pilot testing has been is going to start in 100 districts across the country, in which we are giving daily DOTS to our children, and also the family-based DOTS. Like a mother can become a DOTS provider. So now we have 6 weight bands, and the drugs are used in the combination. C is a 3-drug fixed dose combination, a dispersible tablet which has rifampicin, INH and pyrazinamide. Dispersible tablet. A is an adult dose formulation, and ethambutol again dispersible but separate. So these are now what we will be striving at, and the pilot testing has already started. So for our children now, we won't be giving them the pill burden. Because of the pill burden, now we have under the program in future a daily fixed dose combination with dispersible tablets. Coming to monitoring, initially we were doing monitoring for smear negatives, a chest X-ray only at end of treatment. But now this is the flow chart which we will be following. That is, any new patient we will be giving 8 weeks. That is 8 weeks of 4 drugs, followed by 4 months of continuation phase, in which we have added ethambutol. And for previously treated patients, we will be giving what was initially called category 2. But this patient would be followed up at 2 months. Now at 2 months, we will be subjecting this patient to the newer rapid diagnostics, and if the result shows that the patient is sensitive to rifampicin, we will be continuing this regimen, that is the original category 2. But if it turns out to be MDR or XDR, then we will be shifting this child to the category 4 or 5 as is required as per the sputum report. So this is the latest what we are eyeing at, and this is being pilot tested in 100 districts. Coming to the last, chemoprophylaxis, initially only for asymptomatics, less than 6 years, but now we who have a contact, with active tuberculosis last 2 years. But now we are also giving to all those children who are receiving immunosuppressive therapy, and also a child who is otherwise normal but born to a mother who has tuberculosis in the pregnancy. So finally, to end up, whenever we have a TB suspect, the diagnosis is made: clinical, radiological, TST, bacteriological, smear, culture, DST, rapid test, as I've already said, CB, NAT, LPA, MGIT. And finally, the treatment is under DOTS category 1, 2, 4 or 5, depending upon the DST results. So carry home messages are that current guidelines, they do address the diagnosis, treatment path. We have newer definitions, emphasis on newer diagnostic techniques. Dosages have been corrected, a daily and an extended DOT for severe forms. And remember in the end that these are for all of us. And we need to, because of the emergence of MDR, XDR and even total drug resistance, most important part of these guidelines is that they ensure compliance because it is under daily observation. And finally, I salute my children who have made me learn the art of treating them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lisa.